So how to feed a resident that can't feed themselves. So when this happens, you gotta make sure that they have like a clothing protector so they don't get messy. We gotta make sure that we put the bed, like kind of like at waist level. So when we're sitting on a chair, we're able to like feed them correctly and not like over them or standing up. We gotta make sure that their food is with their table on their food is on their table and it's in front of them so they're able to see their food and not too high and not too low um to put their food like so when we put the tray we gotta make sure that the food is lowered but not too low and not too high. Then when we feed them we gotta make sure that we ask them if they want salt and pepper on their food or if they want butter with their toast or if they want anything extra we go ahead and get them or we go get straws. It's easier to feed somebody with straws, especially with their drinks. And so we gotta make sure that when we feed them that we rotate foods, like or like, oh hey, you want some carrots or you want something, not always feeding them the same thing. Feed them like little pieces of everything and they just keep doing that until they're done. Or if they tell you I'm done, I don't eat anymore, then you just stop. But you don't assume, you just keep feeding them until they tell you to. Or if they don't say anything, like if they're not like they don't speak, you just keep feeding them until like you notice them that they're spitting out their food and stuff, so then you stop. But try to feed them all their fluids. But try to like help them in any way they can. But try to feed them all their food because they need all their food. What else? But yeah, make sure they have clothing protector on them and don't wear any gloves when feeding them. What else? I think that's it. How to assist a resident who can feed themselves. So usually these residents can lift up forks or spoons and stuff like that, but they can't like cut their steak, they can't cut their meat, they can't cut like their lasagna or anything that they have, they can't cut it. So make sure that with every resident, even though they can like take off their their tray or whatever, I always open up all their drinks. I always cut their food if they can't cut them, like like if you're just assisting them to eating, helping them. I always make sure I always cut their food and ask them, hey, do you want some salt and pepper or is there anything extra that you want? But try to cut their food and give them their fork and spoon. They're like, okay, you ready to eat? And give it to them, and then just help them, assist them, with grabbing their food and just making sure that they eat. But yeah, always make sure to cut their food and open up all their food and drinks or anything extra that they want, go and get them. But always make sure that you cut their food and you open all their food and drinks. How to verify a resident given the correct diet tray. So you need to make sure that their name is on their diet tray. The diet tray paper, it has their name on it, their room number, what they don't like, what they do like, and they're like if they're allergic to any foods. But if you're new and you don't know them, ask the other CNAs that are with you and ask them like, hey, is this so and so? Or if you're by yourself, go and ask or go on their chart. It usually has a picture of them on their chart and go look at their picture. But ask any other ask CNAs there that you need help identifying residents, or if they're able to speak to you, the residents, then ask them, hey, are you Sally? And if they say yes, I'm like, okay, Sally, and just check the room name. That'll be the easiest to go by is the room number. But yeah, ask other CNAs too there that they need help, and they need to you need help with identifying residents, and they should help you. Assisting residents who use any assistive devices while eating. So usually they should already be on the trays when they come out. But if they're not, and if you know that this person needs their devices, you go and get them from dietary, from the kitchen. But usually there's spoons. I know there's spoons, cups, and yeah, I think it's spoons and cups and probably plates. But with spoons, there's some different types of spoons. There's spoons that can be wrapped around their hand, and so they're able to eat. Or there's spoons that are more heavy on the on the handle, and they're bigger, so they're able to eat it, pick it up and eat it. Not like this, regular spoons or forks where they're very light. These are more heavier, so they're able to pick them up. But with that, you gotta make sure that you cut their food, and you help them, kind of like guide them to get their their meat or anything, and then just guide them and help them pick it up to their mouth. And but we don't want them to be more dependent on us. We gotta make sure that they're independent and just help them and guide them and be like, come on, Sally, you could do it. You could pick up the fork, and then just keep helping them, making sure, just eyeing them and making sure that they're eating. But if they need help with actual feeding, then you help them. But to assist them, you just try to make sure you cut their food and you hand them their fork and spoon or anything like that, and just try to help them, guide them to their mouth and eat. The use of artificial limbs. So with that, I actually have a resident who is not an artificial limb. It's more like a brace, but it's like an artificial limb, and this brace helps him with his left foot. So his left foot is more weaker than his right foot, and he and with that brace, it's a brace, and it connects to like a shoe. So he needs those shoes to help him stand up. So every time he needs to get up from bed, I put his shoes on, and then he gets up, and then he sits down on his wheelchair, and then when he goes back to his room, he stands up and he gets in his bed, and then I take off his shoes, and I put him on top of his wheelchair, and then but I always keep his brace and his shoes on top of the wheelchair, because that's where he wants them to be kept and stuff. But yeah, with residents, you gotta make sure that if they use any artificial limbs, that it's always clean, and there's no moisture. But yeah, you gotta make sure that it's always where you can find it, and where the resident knows where it's at. And you need to use them, especially if they need to stand up, or if they need to be used 24/7. Then you keep it on, and you just make sure it's clean all the time. But you gotta make sure that your resident has their belongings, so they could be able to be more productive. But you gotta make sure that they have their artificial limbs all the time.